Yay. Okay. So we are going to be discussing the second half of My Heart is a Chainsaw. And we're going to start with our Horror Hound contest. And we've got all the little contestants in the jar. Go around in here and see who wins. Erin! Oh, that's so cool. I've never been able to get anything for her. She's gonna be excited. She'll probably want something book related, not horror related, I'm sure. But yeah, that's really, really cool. So yay! She'll be stoked for that. And then the only other announcement I had, other than we want to make sure that Jessica starts thinking about her next book pitch. And I'm going to recruit for a few more members for our next read, like I do every time. So if anybody knows anyone that's really interested in joining a virtual book club, extend the info forward. The more the merrier. They're welcome, just so we know. Okay. So since the book has been a huge hit for some and hard for others, I thought we would start with some light questions before we get into like this was deep. I felt like the second half was deeper for me. So first question is, when building a picture of Jade in your head, or any character really, but Jade in particular, do you look at them and like relate them to like a celebrity or somebody that you know in real life, or do you make a whole new image of them, or take bits and pieces of people that you know? And then we will start in opposite alphabetical order. So we'll start with Stephanie.
Okay, so actually, I have a pretty vivid imagination, so I just come up with it on my own with how they describe it in the book, but also I might take some things from my life from people that I know, like personality wise, and attach it to the characters, but I don't use celebrities.
Really? Okay, okay. Um, and so how about you, Uli? Do you have anybody in mind when you think of Jade? Do you build anything specific or base it off of anyone?
Um, Honestly, I just build it myself, just like Stephanie does too. Yeah, with the description that they put in the book,
Yeah,
I try and build that image.
that's so cool. Okay. This is a little different from me. And then how about you, Jessica?
Um, I, I, while I have a good imagination, I'm not great at picturing people. I even have that trouble like in my dreams. Like they tend to be like weird, like blank doll type things. Like might like get a defining characteristic down, but to me, it's about like just visualizing like the dialogue.
Yeah. And how about you, Jameson?
I think the only time I like resort to the celebrity thing is if I've watched the movie first. Like if I've seen a movie that's based on it, I tend to picture that in my head. Um, but other than that, I pretty much like my brain pretty much makes it up on its own.
I try so hard to read the book first because, in my opinion, most of the time the book is better. But I wonder sometimes if that's because of the way that our own brains adapt and form these images, you know? But for me, this question goes to Erin because she asked me this while we were reading this week. Jade kind of puts me in mind of Claire Danes from My So-Called Life. With the like she had the orange hair, she's kind of melancholy. She's a little drawn to darker things. So she a little bit, I can see like a little bit of that. And then with Officer Hardy, I don't know why, but from the very beginning, I keep looking him. I don't know if you guys have seen Orange is the New Black, but the guidance counselor, the one that's like they go to for help and like whatever reason, I don't know why I see a lot of like correlations between like he tries to relate to her so much, but it's just weird and uncomfortable and something is off. Maybe that's the vibe I'm getting. So I thought that was curious just to ask you guys to see if you had, or if you just built it all up in your head. I wish I could see you guys draw pictures of what you see. It would be so cool. And then the second one that's kind of lighthearted is there's like this common stereotype, I guess, when women get really emotional or going through a really hard time. And even like non-binary, it's not really as common for males, but they like to change their hair. So like if they feel like they're just like in a rut or feeling kind of like zoomy or whatever, like they'll change the color, bangs or whatever. And she does that in this part of the book and like goes this like super goth, weird smelling hair dye. And it's like, have you ever done that? And like, were you happy? Did it make you feel better? Did you get that instant sense of gratification or did you have regrets? And then this time, let's start with Jameson.
I absolutely do that. I think my hair has been every color. I've shaved my head more than once. Um, I don't know. I think it's like the reason we get tattoos and piercings and like those last a little longer, obviously. But yeah, it's I don't always do it for that reason. Sometimes I'm just bored and I'm like, you know what would help if I dyed my hair purple? Um,
Yeah.
but sometimes it can be an emotional thing.
How about you, Jessica?
Um, I've definitely been all over the place with my hair. I know like when you're talking about like dyeing her hair with weird stuff, like I dyed my hair with Kool-Aid in high school. Like I think every teenager goes through the like, what weird chemistry experiment can I pull on my hair? But then I kind of grew out of it, but still dyed my hair just a socially acceptable color for like 20 years. And but yeah, I sometimes I think it's been emotional. I've definitely shaved my head out of frustration, angst, that sort of thing. Cut my hair, never cut bangs. I know that's not for me. So thank goodness the voices in my head don't tell me bangs are for me because I know it's not cool.
How about you, Uy? Have you ever, um, wanted to like change your hair or even like the tattoo or piercing just to kind of like relieve that pressure, make you feel better?
Oh yeah, all the time. Up until let's say maybe like the last 5 years, I was dyeing my hair all sorts of colors. I've pretty much been everything. I've never had the balls to shave my head, so kudos to you guys. Um, but I've chopped it to here. Right now, it's like down to my back. Uh, it's been purple, red, green, blue, everything you can imagine. And I did it out of fun, like for fun, or yeah, even out of anger. Um, my first time ever dyeing my hair anything other than red that my mom would let me dye. So I wanted to be Ariel. Um, I was Amy Lee Evanescence for Halloween one year, and I dyed my hair black with a semi-permanent, and my mom was pissed. But after that, she let me dye my hair whatever colors I wanted.
You could totally rock that look, by the way, just so you
Yeah,
know.
she let me do black with the red like the red streaks. I had blue tips, green tips, everything.
I love
It was
that.
fun.
So cool. That's awesome. And I know Stephanie loves to change the colors in her hair. Have you ever shaved or cut like a new cut or anything? Because I love the green on you. And I think did you have purple at one time or want purple?
Mhm. Yeah. Um, so I've done a lot of different stuff. My mom let me from a young age actually experiment with my hair, which is really cool. And there was even one time, the ginger spice look where it's red or it's blonde, but it has like the big money pieces. I did my hair that color one time too, and it did not look right, but my mom let me try it. But I think so when I feel a certain way or I feel relief, I want to dye my hair, do something different with it, get it cut. Um, same with tattoo. after my mom passed away and stuff, I waited a little bit and then I got my Phoenix started, but I still haven't gotten it finished yet.
So awesome. So, for whatever reason, which is really odd because I'm super, super impulsive and I do crazy things all the time for instant gratification, I've never really had any color other than my natural. And of course, now I've got gray coming in, but I always go over my gray with my natural color. And I've never messed with my bangs or anything, but I do tattoos. And that can get really addicting and really expensive. But I've never had any piercing. Here I am, like going to be 46 in September, and I'm like, I really want a nose ring. Like, where is this coming from? What I'm
But you
doing.
have your ears pierced though.
I do, and I want a pierce. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
embracing like the edgier side of me recently. But speaking of that, along the line, something I wanted to say, I didn't catch this in the first part of the book, but the rule of the final girl, and you guys know I said I would definitely be a final girl, right? She has to be a virgin. So like I can't be the final girl. I'm not gonna make it. Totally. Oh, thank you. I totally did not realize that. And I was reading it this time and I'm like, oh no, I'm one of those, comeback girl type of things. I'm not a final girl either. Um, so now I wanted to get into a little bit of the meteor part. It's intense. So we're gonna start with first. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming, and for contributing and for being so open because again, we've dived into another book that brings up so many feelings. And now that we've gotten to this part of it, especially those who have stuck with it, there's some, I don't know, emotional things that are going to come out. So, my first question is I'm having, I'm questioning why she has so much empathy for her, or maybe she gives her dad a lot of leeway that she doesn't give to her mom, and I'm confused by that. Like I'm having a hard time figuring out where that's coming from, and the only thing I can think of is the racial politics of the underlining, the familiarism that she has with her dad that she doesn't obviously have with her mom. But I wanted to hear your guys' point of view on it because he to me he's not a good dad. He's kind of a jerk. Um, and I don't know about the mom. So anyway, let's start with Stephanie, and let's hear your take on like where do you think that's coming from, and are you picking up on that as well?
So that's the part that I've been trying to figure out too. There's something there. I don't know why she's giving her dad grace. I mean, he's clearly I'm trying to be nice here, but he's kind of a reject. And he's a lax dad. He does not care about his daughter, as we see later on in the book, what he does, kicking her out of the house. And I don't know if maybe she just feels an attachment because something did happen from him or one of his friends. I don't know. I don't know what to think right now. I'm curious to hear everybody else's opinion on it.
Yeah. Okay. So Udi, how about you? What are your thoughts? Have you picked up on that too?
Yeah, I have as well. He gives me a creepy vibe. I don't really like him. I don't understand why she cares so much. I think that being kicked out would probably be the best thing for her, get away from that because he just seems to be like dragging her down in a way,
Yeah.
like keeping her from, if she, well, I not relies on him, but she keeps going back, and
I
I don't know why, especially after the way he mistreats her and lets his friends talk about her that way and stuff.
yeah. How about you, Jessica?
So I really didn't read a whole lot into that. I mean, a bird will make friends with a snake if its mom abandons it, and the snake tells it it'll take care of it. She's also, and maybe this is how how I'm looking at it is I've got two 17-year-olds. They couldn't fend for themselves, and they know they couldn't. They're smart enough to know that they're not as smart as they think they are. Um, so I feel like she's like, well, what choice do I have? My mom literally left me and wants nothing to do with me. My dad at least didn't walk out on me. I guess he could have abandoned her too and left her, on in county care. So I feel like that's where any loyalty comes from is, he at least didn't walk away from her.
You make a really good point there. You really do. I guess for me, where it's really hitting, and I'm curious how Jameson will feel, it's almost as if he mocks her and and purposely hurts her. And that is where I'm having a problem. So 17-year-olds are not easy to get along with. None of them are. It's so many hormones. They're going through so many changes and everything. Jade has the flu of her own stuff. However, and I get like that, and I would also feel really grateful for him not abandoning. But the cruelty, there's some cruelty there, And so I'm curious if Jameson, are you more with Jessica, or are you more like this dude's just she's giving him a free pass for some odd reason that we don't know yet?
I don't I don't know. It's I'm still wondering, I guess, why a mother would leave her child there. But then it occurs to me that like we're talking about Native people. So if and I if they are on some sort of reservation, it's not really clear that that's where they are. That would explain it a little. Like these are my people, especially if she looks native. I know her mom isn't, but like part of me wonders if that's it, like if it's a heritage thing. Um, I don't know. I don't know. They brought stuff up that made me wonder, like I don't know that her dad has really done anything to her. Um, Maybe her mom has, because I don't know, maybe it wasn't her dad who abused her. Maybe it was like her dad's friends, but maybe that wasn't his fault. Maybe it was her mom. Like I just have so many questions. Um, and then sometimes I think that like having a parent at all, like even having a shitty parent is better than not having any. Like this is what I have, so I'm just gonna deal with it. I really don't know. It's confusing to me.
So, me too. And psychologically speaking, we'll get to that next question. That's basically, this is a good segue into it. I'm sure you guys are familiar with like grooming, and sometimes there is almost like Stockholm, like if somebody has been abusing you from the beginning in this way, you start to form an attachment to the abuser and the abuse. So I don't know if maybe he fits into that somehow, or if it is just the basic, well, at least he's here and I have somebody, and you're desperately clinging on to it because you have nothing else. I can't quite figure out which it is. So the next question, and we will start with you, Jameson, is basically what I wanted to know is I find it odd that we kind of live inside her head, right? But we don't know much about her early childhood trauma. So for me, with the trauma that I've had, in some way, at some point by now, if we were already through halfway of my book, my trauma from my childhood would have came out by now. In some way, some tiny little piece, we still know nothing. So do you feel, and a lot of people believe that the etiology of horror usually starts with somebody having been traumatized. Do you feel that she had some kind of significant trauma that we'll find out at the end, and it'll bring everything together? And that's like why she's obsessed with slashers and why she's preoccupied with it. And do you have any predictions or assumptions on that? So do you feel like we're building to that? Or do you think it will just be part of her personality makeup and that would even be a thing?
I think she's way too obsessed with it. It's almost like there was a part in the book where she compared it to the Bible. And for me, that's like it's more of a security thing. It's more of a like I watch horror movies and people don't understand why I find them comforting. Um, because I know what's going to happen. I can see it coming. Or I've seen it 50 times and I know Michael Myers is going to kill that girl. Like it's I don't know. I think that I mean taking depression or some other sort of mental illness out of the equation, um, I think two suicide attempts is a pretty good indication that there's probably trauma somewhere. And I almost feel like it's like people who have like disassociation, like when they're disassociating so that they don't have to deal with this. I feel like that's what she does with the horror movies. So I think we're gonna learn that there's something somewhere that's happened.
100% following your train of thought there. And I just want you to know, I think you know this, but you're not alone in loving horror and like serial killer documentaries and like stuff like that. Like I'll fall asleep listening to my favorite murder and it'll be on my phone and somebody will come in the room and they're like, what in the what? How can you sleep with this? And it's just like, I don't know. I've been falling asleep to Friday the 13th since I've been 10 years old. I don't know what's wrong with my brain. It makes me feel better. But there is like she talks about those rules, and there is some type of way of like you know what's gonna kind of like there's no like guesswork sometimes, you know. Okay, so Jessica, do you feel that there we will find out like more about the mom or the dad or possible trauma that happened to her that caused this whole thing to kind of unfold at the end, or do you think it'll just get sidestepped?
So I don't know what to think about that. Apart, I I do agree that two suicide attempts that we know of is a lot. So there's likely some sort of trauma in the background. I don't know that it's anything as dramatic as familial sexual assault. I think it's very possible that she is traumatized and suicidal because she's depressed because of the circumstances that she lives in. I mean, she lives in poverty. She has been othered by her classmates because of her appearance, her social, socioeconomic status, etc. I mean, but I feel like we're going to find out that there's some sort of trauma there. There's a part of me that really hopes it's not a sexual assault. I don't wish that on anybody, but B, I feel like for a lot of writers, that's the easy way to explain the different kid. And I expect I expect better, Mr. Jones. I want better. Let's not explain every bit of differentness with you had to have been traumatized.
I see where you're going with that. And I also want to say, I don't want to minimize the fact that there is obvious trauma. So the abandonment of her mom and the like verbal, emotional stuff going on with her dad, that is significant trauma that could cause these issues. I just feel like we're building to some type of like wrap it up type of thing, you know, like an explanation. But yes, I like how open minded you have been with it. And maybe it's because you have people in your life that are her age. It could be. So you can like empathize with her a little bit differently. Because for me, I have to kind of like go back to when I was that age, you know? How about you, Udi? Do you have any thoughts about what we might discover or if you think there is something bigger there that made her this way?
I agree completely with everything that's been said so far, but I do feel like eventually the truth is going to come out and we're going to find out what happened to make her want to, be this way. Not want to, but the way she is. I completely agree with everything.
Yeah, I agree. Back to what Jameson was saying. So, as somebody who didn't find out until really late in life, I was about 35, that I realized that I was having dissociation issues. I didn't know. I was oblivious to it. And but I always did what she's doing. So I would always find something to obsess over and distract myself with. I didn't like check out in the way where you kind of like stare at the wall type of dissociation, but I detach from reality with something like this. And I think when you do something that extreme, usually it boils down to one really serious event. So, how about you, Stephanie? Do you have any opinions or like wondering what this could be?
Okay, sorry. I was having issues with the button. Um, so I agree with what everybody else is saying, and I really feel that she's using the horror obsession as a coping skill. She's trying to get away from her reality. She has a lot against her being Native American, and there's a higher incidence of sexual assault of Native Americans too. And they're poorer and all of that. And there's obvious abuse from her dad because he's an alcoholic, either verbally or physically or something else. I don't know. But Rexall's creepy as all get out. He's really creepy. But I know it's leading to something that, will wrap everything up. I just don't know what it is. But I know she's dealing with a lot. And, you know, I understand the whole dissociation thing. When I'm in a really emotional state, sometimes I'll just kind of check out or I'll just get really wrapped up in something. But she's using it as coping, and I'm really hoping, like what Jessica said, that it's not going to be the whole sexual assault thing because that's kind of the whole trope with horror stuff anyway, and we don't want to see that. We want it to be a little different to explain everything. But I value everybody's opinions. You guys are really opening my eyes to different things. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Erin. You look so pretty. It's good to see
Hi.
you.
Thanks. Hi, guys. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, no worries, no worries there. We went over some things, and thank you, Stephanie. I did not know. So I'm Native American. My grandpa was Cherokee Indian, and my grandma was full Irish. So a lot of people don't know because I favor her. But somebody who's been, sexually abused and had sexually assault, I didn't know that put me at a higher statistic. So that makes sense. That's really validating. That's interesting to get Erin caught up. So exciting news. We did the first thing we did with our little draw for the people that did the horror quiz, and you won.
Oh no,
Yeah, you
I
won.
would like you
Yes,
to
don't you stop it right now. You're getting put in it. You never get to win any prizes. I'm sending you a prize. And I'm wondering, did you want the horror thing or something book related?
Oh no, that's fine. I would like that. Thank
You
you.
would? You would? Okay, okay. So
Yeah,
I'll just surprise you then and send it on.
cool.
Okay, good. I wanted to put you in at least a couple of the contests, So
Thank
anyway, and then
you.
the other thing, the two questions that we did lightheartedly to get started were the first one was your question, which you already answered for me, was do you build the character in your head that looks like a celebrity or somebody in real life? And you and I discussed, you had said that you kind of come up with your own image. But after you asked me that, I was thinking, she's sort of like in my head reminds me a little bit of Claire Danes in My So-Called Life. And the sheriff reminds me a lot of the guidance counselor in Orange is the New Black. And I'm not really sure why that is. He's kind of a creepy guy. And I'm wondering if that's why. But everyone else is right on point with you. They build their own person in their head from the details. And then Jameson brought up she tries to read the book before seeing a movie, if it is. That way they can build their own image of the person. And then the other question was when life is really hard and you're feeling on extra on edge, do you ever want to change your hair color like Jade? Or cut it or get bangs or do anything wild with it?
I don't think so. You're asking me. It's my turn, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think so. I mean, sometimes I do want to like do drastic things to my hair, but I don't ever recall it correlating with like a specifically stressful time. I think sometimes I just get bored. Like for like I used to get my hair really, really short, and then for a long time I let it grow, and it was like almost I guess at the end of working at Zulily, it was like, oh, maybe I do then because it was almost down to like between the middle of my back and my waist. It was pretty long. And then right around wintertime, I cut my hair really short. So maybe I do and I don't know it, but we'll see, I guess. I never correlated it before until just now speaking it out loud. So maybe it is a stressful time because you know what happened.
Well, it's a common stereotype. And Jameson said that it doesn't have to be an emotional thing. It can be from being bored or just needing
Mhm.
to change. So that's possible too.
Yep.
And then we've gone over two more deeper questions. And the first one was, how do you feel about Jade being kinder to her dad and giving her dad like a free pass where doesn't seem to do that with her mom? And do you feel like there's a reason for that?
Um, I don't really know. I mean, it depends on how the story goes, but what I'm thinking so far is that I do think that she was abused somehow, just based on what I've picked up from the book and what she said so far. And I feel like she thought that her mom was supposed to protect her and her mom didn't. So that's why she's so much harder. I don't understand. I don't know why she isn't mad at her dad about it. And maybe she is deep down. But even that part where she said, like she wrote that paper, but then she burned it before she was even turning it in because it was about how mothers are supposed to protect their children. And I mean, from what I took it as her mom didn't protect her from whatever it was that happened. And maybe her dad was involved. I don't, I don't know, but that's how I felt.
Ooh, that's a whole new perspective. That's interesting. And you just answered the second question that I asked was if there's like an undertone of some type of sexual abuse. And if you felt that was the case, or if she mentions red herrings, if
Mm,
we're being led down like the wrong path, like maybe that didn't happen. But you're obviously getting some type of vibe with some kind of like big trauma as well.
yeah,
So
for
now
sure.
you're caught up.
Okay.
The next thing I really wanted to talk about was the red herrings. And she's explaining it to Mr. Holmes in her assignment. And so this is part of kind of bringing in Stephanie's question about wanting to talk more. Well, everybody kind of wants to talk more about the teacher and his involvement in all of this. And for me, it feels like he knows something, and it's possible that he knows it with the sheriff, or if he knows something different, or I don't know. I feel like the dad, the sheriff, and the teacher all know something from the past that Jade hasn't brought into light. So I just kind of wanted to know everybody's thoughts on the three of them, what you think they might know, and why do you feel like he's like entertaining her doing this type of paper? It's unusual. There's something off, and maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but I'm not sure. We will start with Stephanie this time.
Okay, so I I think there is something with, of course, the sheriff, her dad, and Mr. Holmes. There's just something. I don't know if it maybe has to do with they know who the killer is, they know what happened or who's doing it, or if they're taking turns doing it, killing people, because the sheriff was there when Clay died, and he was just sitting there smoking a cigar like nothing's going on, or a cigarette like nothing's going on. I mean, that seems pretty suspicious to me. And then it's and then when Deacon dies, he could have been nearby too, but we just didn't hear about it. I don't know. There's something weird about the whole situation. I don't know what to make of it yet.
I am loving your insight because it's so funny. You keep bringing up my next question, but one of them is, are there two, do you think there's two killers and do you think they're working together? So I was really hoping we would go sort of in that direction with this question about the dad like freaking out about her bringing the law to his house, and like the correlation between Mr. Holmes and the sheriff, and like what you guys think. So Udi, what is your, are you getting weird vibes? Do you have any predictions or assumptions?
I'm in the same boat. I feel um the dad is running from something, definitely, because, like you just said, she did bring the law to his door, and he's like, well, 75 feet, that's as far as I want them, you know? It's been that way since I was a kid. And so that, and then exactly what Stephanie said, like he was there, and then he was around, like he cited the dude for doing the fireballs into the lake. So it's very possible. And then all of three, yeah, I think they could be multiple killers, definitely going back and forth.
At first with the dad, I thought, well, maybe because they're the only like native people in this town, maybe it's like a racial thing. Like they feel like they're being, he feels like he's being profiled. But then when I started reading more about the teacher and the sheriff and how they don't, it's like there's not enough reaction from them. There's too much indifference where I feel like Jade's overreacting, they're underreacting. So it's like, what do you know that none of this is shocking to you about? So sure.
Yeah, and they share that incident, that fire. So they already share something, so maybe they are the killers.
I know. How about you, Jessica? Did you get any kind of weird vibes or thoughts?
Um, I I don't even know what to think at this point. I thought I was understanding things after at the end of the first part. And then somewhere in the middle of this part, I feel like the author got lost in his own sauce and is just like rolling like a dog in a dead thing in like the slasher iconography. And it's great and I love it. But we got a lot of plot to cover and I got questions. And I mean, I have to say, like with the teacher, I was more getting like narrator Vincent Price here just to move the plot along and make sure you stay on track vibes. And then also the whole like he's letting her write about it. I kind of figured because he's a good teacher and he's like, well, I've had this student since freshman year. She's absolutely non-compliant unless I just let her write what she wants. So maybe I can get some actual like work out of her and get her to get some sort of education here somewhere if I humor her. I don't know. That's all I really thought of him letting her write on the topic.
Interesting. Interesting. How about you, Jameson? I'm sure you have a whole slew of ideas here. I'm curious. I've done some deep diving on the author, by the way, so I'll come back to you, Jessica, but I want to hear what Jameson thinks.
I feel like we're supposed to be suspicious of the teacher and her dad and these people that are hanging around with her dad. And like I feel like that's too obvious. Um, and I must be the only one who just like outside of that one comment that he made to her, I must be the only one who's not creeped out by Rex. Um, like, or maybe I just keep hoping that whatever he's got on this recording is something that's going to help her, not something that's creepy and gross. Um, I don't know. I just like, I think that her dad and his buddies are up to something, but I feel like the whole revenge arc thing, now that we know the story of what happened to Shooting Glass's buddy, it kind of gives me the vibe that like when she stumbles into this bonfire, like like that's my suspect, that group of people.
Yeah, there's definitely like a historical um issue between that's happened in this town that she seems to be a little bit of not informed about. And it's like she's uncovering bits and pieces of both things at the same time. So it's really interesting to see what if that will be revealed because I'm feeling it too. How about you, Erin? Did you have any kind of like, have you gone on any of your little theories on what's going on here between these three different men?
Well, I actually didn't even think about those three men at the bonfire, like Shooter Glasses and his friend. I didn't even think about those guys being the suspects. Like that didn't even cross my mind until now, but it makes sense because like we already talked about last meeting, the slasher is basically getting back at somebody for wrongdoings. And he did bring it up, like he feels so bad that they basically paid them off to keep quiet about the accident. So that makes sense. But no, my number one suspicious person is the history teacher. I feel like he's strange. I don't know. I feel like he does remember all like the slashers. Like he remembers her papers in detail basically because he like referenced one and she thought like, wow, I can't remember. I can't believe that he remembered that. Um, but I was a little bit confused about a couple of things that happened. Like when she was in the car with them, did they like present her with her dad's muddy boots? Do you guys remember that? Like, why did they have her dad's muddy boots? They found them, but they don't think that he's a suspect. See, I don't know if it's the author's writing or if it was just if it was he was trying to like write how Jade would think. Because I feel like her thoughts are jumbled. I don't know. I got a little bit confused about that. I also thought it was really weird how they handled what Letha said about Jade being assaulted, like sexually assaulted. I feel like that was weird the way they handled it. I don't know. So I'm just very suspicious of them, but mostly the teacher. And only because I do get weird vibes from him. And also, like I said, he did remember. He remembers all of her slasher papers in detail. And it is so weird that he would let her write about that. He's our history teacher. I don't think that he would like give her a passing grade just because she writes about slasher movies. I don't know.
So, from what I understand, he's a history teacher, and this is a historical assignment, and she has to write about something that happened in that town. And so she was trying to come up with that's why she interviewed that Indian witch, the swamp
Mm-hmm.
witch, and then the lady in the nursing home. And so she was trying to give like a different spin, but like it turned into like a novella. Like
Yeah.
it is a big deal. And so when I was hearing everybody's feedback about the book and everything, and it's like, why am I enjoying it so much? And people are not. I got to reading about the author. And so basically, he wants his horror to be sort of a mystery. There's like layers to it. So he
Yeah.
wants people to think this is what's going to happen, but get shocked and lead you down different paths. So I think no matter what we come up with the clues, we might be wrong. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the girl that drowned in the lake and what your guys' thoughts are if this has and do you remember the legend that she was told about the lake and the Indian type of thing? Like, do you feel that they're on native land and that it was invaded upon and that because of that, that's where her dad's animosity comes from? I feel like, did we know if Rexel is native as well? Why are they friends and like in cahoots? I'm just wondering if the whole Native American Indian thing is going to be a really big part at the end. It's like it's all going to come together with that. And if you've gotten the implication for that as well. And then also, um, if you do think that it's Mr. Holmes, do you think that he's working with someone else, or do you think he's totally alone? So do you think that that whole town is on native land, or if like they're just there? You know what I mean? Since they're the only ones there. I'm having a hard time figuring that out. And then also, do you think he's working alone? And then we'll start back with you, Erin.
I don't know. I mean, I know that she's I don't even know if this makes sense, but I know that she's into slashers, okay? And I know that there's a lot of like supernatural lore around native land. And even she asked, like, whenever Shooter Glasses was telling her about his friend that fell in the cave, um, she was saying, did he get bit by something? Was there something down there? So maybe even she thinks that he like went crazy or thought he went crazy because what happened to him when he was down there? Did he like hit his head and that's why he went crazy? We don't know, I guess. Um, so I mean, I guess I still think it's a slasher. I don't really think it's anything paranormal, but I think that even she thought that. But it could be, I don't know. From what I took up from the story, and I could have missed it because, like I said, some of it was hard to follow. For me anyway. I thought it was over there. Terra, whatever that place is called. I can't remember for some reason. I can't remember the name.
I think it's called
Across the
Terra
lake.
Nova. Is it Terra Nova?
Yeah, Terra
Yeah.
Nova. That makes sense. From what I took, it was over there. That was the native land. But I don't understand why he would be so mad now because they've already done so much work over there with all of the caves and stuff. Weren't they looking for gold or something at one point? So I don't know. I'm really confused. I don't know. My suspicions are saying the history teacher, but I haven't even considered him being in cahoots with anybody except for maybe the sheriff, and only because the sheriff was sitting there when that the friend got cut up. But did he see it? Did he not stop it? Was he part of it? I don't know. All I'm saying is um if I thought somebody was responsible for the death of my child and I was still angry about it, however many years later, I don't know if I would stop it. I would like to say that I would, but who knows? So I don't know. I'm confused.
Thank you.
Sorry about the ramble.
I think we all feel that way. We just don't want to admit it. But
Yeah.
yeah, there is an in reaction that's not happening from Mr. Holmes and the sheriff party. And I think Stephanie gets bad vibes from the sheriff and has gotten bad vibes from him, and you're getting them from the teacher. So it makes me wonder. And I've had a problem with the dad in Rexel since the very beginning. So I just something, but then now I wonder with Stephanie's maybe the mom somehow didn't defend her. Like maybe something happened in front of the mom. I mean, there's so many possibilities. So Jameson, how about you? What are your feelings about the Native American Indian stuff being like a undertone to things? Is the possibility there's some type of like folk paranormal thing going on, or do you think it's two killers, one like what do you think's happening?
I also don't think it's paranormal. I think like knowing that the writer is also native, it makes me think like he wants to weave like the suspicion of, the whole paranormal, skinwalker, whatever, whatever that particular tribe believes. Um, I guess my suspicion with like the sheriff and like maybe the history teacher, I feel like their suspicions are not about whatever murders are happening. I feel like it's him trying to get to the bottom of what happened to his kid. Um, Maybe I'm not suspicious of the history teacher because he reminds me of my history teacher. Um, and that's a time when I do like as I've read this book, that's who I picture. He was absolutely one of my favorite teachers, and he was kind of like that. Like he would kind of let me run with things as long as I could bring it back to what he was talking about. But I don't know. I feel like we're supposed to be confused. Um, yeah, I don't think it's paranormal, but I don't know. I don't really have an answer for exactly what it is just yet.
Do you have any feelings on the mom? Do you think that maybe something happened that she did not protect Jade, or that it feels like there's an unknown resentment? And do you think it's just the basic abandonment, or do you think something happened in where she hurt her?
I think it's odd that I think there's something that keeps her from reaching out to Jade, and I don't know what that is. Um, she's clearly lives in this town, has held this job. Like for somebody to be sort of stable, you know, have a life and be able to hold that down, but not reach out to their daughter, but care enough to go to graduation. Like you clearly care about her. And I think that there's something maybe that they're holding over her head. There's some reason I think that we're going to find out why she doesn't reach out to Jade and talk to her or something.
I was so hoping we would figure something out in this part of it. We would get a little bit, but we didn't. How about you, Jessica? Do you have any feelings about, is there some type of Indian folklore type of thing here going on? Do you feel that there's multiple, killers? Do you have bad vibes about anybody, of any suspicions?
Um, I I don't necessarily think that there's anything paranormal going on. I I do think why mention it if it doesn't matter as far as them being the only two. I do think that it's mentioned that the national forest area used to be native land, but it sounds like that's been so long ago that it just so happens that her dad and his family happen to be there. It doesn't seem like there's any real familial claim to the land. As far as like you had mentioned, like like why are her dad and Rex all friends? Like seeks like. I mean, they both seem like trash people. I feel like her dad, you know, doesn't like the cops simply because he's trashy. Um, he does probably borderline illegal things, and he's a drunk. Um, I don't know what to think or who to suspect. I don't know what or who to expect, like who to suspect at this point. I do really feel like something is up with Letha, honestly. I absolutely did not like the way that she handled the confrontation about this sexual assault. I feel like she handled it in a super underhanded, overtly slimy way. And so now I'm suspecting her. But honestly, if you told me that there was an entire cabal living on the other side of the lake that was like working together as slashers, I would believe that.
It's so crazy to hear how different we all feel. Like I don't think I've ever seen such juxtaposition on a book before. How about you, Udi? What are your feelings on all of it?
I don't think that it's paranormal either. I think that the reason why she's giving those references is just to give you a backstory of what has already happened on that land, because it's cursed land with all the camp blood, and then the lake witch myth. So I think that that's just showing the backstory of all the bloodshed that has happened at this lake. And I think it could have something to do with, maybe the sheriff's daughter. Maybe they know that they're doing the killing to get revenge for the daughter. All these people moving in. I don't know. That's just kind of my theory.
There's a lot of things about sacred Indian ground and how offended it is. And even if it's like long time ago, people harbor like this like hatred for that, because really all of it's stolen land. Like we're all, like we all did, like it's generational trauma, I guess is what I wanted to point out there. So it's interesting, everybody's point of view. How about you, Stephanie?
So I don't think it's paranormal either. I think, like what Udi said, I think it's the backstory. They're just trying to give us what's happened and I'm pretty confused right now too, like everybody else, because I was fine with Letha until she handled that sexual assault thing, and that just put me off really badly. And I don't know what to think because, the sheriff, and I'm hoping against hope that it's because his daughter died and not that he's actually the killer. But I know something is weird about the history teacher, but I'm also starting to wonder if maybe they're just pegging him as the scapegoat and it's somebody else because he's the weirdo. I don't know. It's it's just jumbled. I don't know if that's the way the writer meant it to be, is all jumbled. I don't know.
That's really fascinating. So in my head, they're all relatable characters because they're all what we call weirdos, and they're all like unusual. And so wrapping your mind around all these characters is just mind blowing. And I think a lot of people get frustrated because it's hard to stay on track. But for me, in my mind, it makes it more fun for me to theorize and obsess about. So I'm real curious next week what rating the book will get. Last week I asked you guys what kind of music would you put to this and what kind of art. This week I want to ask you, if this was made into a movie, would you go see it? Would it be something that you would be intrigued to see? And if you had to cast Jade as a character, who would you pick? And we will start with back with Stephanie. And I know you got this look on your face like I have no idea. Any person that or any of the characters, honestly, um, who would you cast, or would you go see the movie? Do you think it would make a really good film or TV series even?
So I think it would make a really good film and I would go see it. The one that comes to mind for Jade would be the girl that plays Katniss. I can't think of her name right now. I think that she would be really good at it. And I really think that they should cast Ryan Reynolds in it for something because the whole Deadpool vibe, I don't know. That's just what's coming to my mind. Thank you for saying it's J Law. I couldn't think of her name.
Jennifer Lawrence. Yes, yes, that would be a really cool person. How about you, Udi? Do you have, you don't, if you want us to, if you're busy, we can skip over and
No,
go.
it's okay.
You're
He
cool.
wants my snacks. He's not allowed to have them.
um,
Oh, you're going through my backpack? That is where they're at. He's sneaky. Anyways, I do like that idea of Katniss because I have no idea who I would put her as. But honestly, I'm picturing, like, now that I'm thinking about it, shooting glasses, it has to be Bradley Cooper. I just see him with those yellow aviators. Yeah, I could 10 out of 10 see that.
Very cool, very cool. For him, I was thinking Joaquin Phoenix.
That's a good one.
So he's kind of like, I don't know, he just has that whole unusual vibe to him, but it's like really cool. And he's got like the hair lip scar. I don't know. Um, so how about you, Jessica? Yeah, it would be Jessica. How about you? Would you want to see it in a TV series or a movie, and who would you cast?
I think it would make a great TV series. I feel like, especially like breaking it down, like with her slasher 101 kind of interspersed at like the episode breaks. I I don't know about casting. As far as like Jade's concerned, I mean, I just don't know who to put in there. Um, I could see like Evan Peters as like shooting glasses. But I would also watch Evan Peters in just about anything. So had to work that in there. I feel like there's a lot of actresses that are right as far as like weirdness vibe level, but not right as far as like actual looks and like cultural background.
I agree on TV series. I think I could make an episode for every 4 pages of this book. It is that complex, and I totally agree. And for Russell, I would porn stash from where I'm going there, but he's so creepy. And he gives me that weird, like recording people vibe and everything. I don't know. How about you, Jameson?
There is an actress, I think her name's Joan. Her last name is Jones. It's like Julie or Julia or something. She was in the Twilight movies. Um, and she's probably a little too old for Jade, but like that's the picture I get. Like I can see her um in that role. For some reason, when I picture her dad, I know that he's native, and I still keep picturing Woody Harrelson, sort of like that kind of character, but dark hair, dark, like Woody Harrelson, but dark. So I don't know who that would be. I can't come up with anybody for that, but um, yeah, that I didn't really associate anybody else with like anybody that I could cast, but I would totally watch it because I love all the horror references. So,
Would you want it to be a TV series or a movie?
um, knowing that this book is part of a trilogy, apparently, I really want it to be a TV series.
Yes, me too. Me too. I'd like want seasons of it, and I'd want to know way more details. Absolutely. So the dad reminds me of the dude from Shameless. The whole neighborhood there reminds me of that like whole vibe, you know. Um, for me, I would want Jade to be Wednesday Addams in the new series on Netflix, and I would want the mom to be Winona Ryder. So, how about you, Erin?
Um, so I actually thought about this a little bit. That's why I asked you that question because I was trying to like picture her in my mind, but I don't picture characters, but I thought about it and I kind of like picture her like sort of like a very 90s style because I know she wears those boots. So that's what I picture her as, maybe even like a little bit grungy, even though she has like lots of crazy colored hair. So in my mind I kept thinking of like um Nev Campbell from The Craft, like how she dresses like that, or even like I don't know, I can't really remember her style, but like Thora Birch from American Beauty kept coming up, so I feel like she has that sort of like 90s vibe. That's who I kept thinking of. Um and this is so weird, but this is what actually started me to think of it. Every time I think of shooter glasses, all I can think of is the cartoon guy from King of the Hill that holds the beer and he has the aviator glasses. I can't picture him any other way for some reason. But did he? I couldn't remember when they were in the car at nighttime. Did he still have his like aviator glasses on? That's what I thought. I couldn't picture him any other way.
So relatable. So there with you on that. I didn't even think about it until now, but it's so funny because it's so true. Um, wow. So you guys have like totally piqued my interest for the end of the book. I just want to make sure, do you guys want to continue and finish? Are we okay with that speed? Okay, cool. Everyone's in agreement with that. Are we okay? Okay, awesome. And then I know we're running a little over, but I just wanted to know, did anybody have any favorite quotes from this section? Because those are always so important to me. I know Jameson might, and I was curious if there was anything that really struck you.
I did have one and I marked it because I liked it so much, but like she said everybody has a function. Everybody in a slasher cycle has a role. Isn't that a line from the Bible even? Not the over the top violent one Craven and Carpenter wrote with all the massacres and gore, but the other violent one with all the massacres and gore. The one where revenge comes not in a hulking shape lurking at the edge of the light, but as a series of plagues that starts out feeling random, come to feel a lot more like justice, like the scales rebalancing. Same thing, different church. And I just thought that that was really
It is.
like I
Thank you
said,
for
like the
reference.
slashers are her Bible. It's
Yeah, yes, absolutely. How about you, Udi? I see you looking. Did you have something?
I can't find it, but I just happened to see this one where it did kind of where he says she's the student he'll remember. So I did really like that one, and that just popped up. So
I
won't say you were my best student over all these years, he tells her, measuring his words, but you are the one I'm going to remember.
Yeah.
And that's saying something for being the weird kid, you know?
Yes, yes. Anybody else have any that they want to contribute? Go ahead, Stephanie. I'd love to hear.
So for me, it's on page 179, and it says there's always history. Cade says back, a certain somebody might have impressed that upon my just forming psyche. Once upon a freshman year, nothing just pops into existence. Everything comes from somewhere. It's all got a story, just a matter of if we're committed enough to dig it up.
I love
And that fits with this book.
Yes, yes. Ah, that's so awesome. Okay. So reminders, we read to the end of the book. Jessica thinks about what she wants the next book to be. I will need that by Friday of next week. You can just inboxing that. Erin, text me your address for your winnings for the Horror Hound. And anybody have anything else that they want to update or worry about for next week or touch upon? No? Good, 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 good. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts, and I will see you next Sunday. Take care. Bye.